Welcome in to Floor is Yours, an extension of 5 on the Floor here on the 5 Reasons Sports YouTube channel. I'm Ethan Skolnick. You can follow me at Ethan J. Skolnick and at 5 Reasons Sports. We got Greg Sylvander. You can follow him at Greg Sylvander. At some point, we may have Alex Toledo. You can follow at Tropical Blanket. We'll see. We are sponsored here today by our friends over at Signs Broward Fort Lauderdale. Signs Broward Fort Lauderdale, based here in Fort Lauderdale. That's convenient. They also do many of the signs here on Las Olas, but all over the area. They specialize in remote sign and graphic services, but also they do repairs. So if your signs are beat up a little bit by the harsh weather of South Florida, which we know ultimately is coming, they can do that for you too. But they are number one in outdoor signs in Broward. They do the indoor signs as well. You see Piazza Italia. If you're down here, downtown Lauderdale at all, you know that place. They also do the trade show displays and just about everything else. So go to Signs Broward Fort Lauderdale. The account is signsbrowardfortlauderdale.com. The phone number, 954-791-8685, 954-791-8685. And again, it's Signs Broward Fort Lauderdale. And mention 5 Reasons, and you will get a discount, okay? So they sponsor many of our programs here on the network. All right, Greg, we're going to get to it today because there's just been this strange buzz. And we've talked so much Heat this week, and I recommend that everybody check out our Heat episodes. We've done a bunch. We did one about the playoff path, what would be best for them. We did about which player in the Eastern Conference is the most, threatening to them. I was not late today, actually. I was not late today, Welsh. So let's just be clear on that. I was first. And yes, Greg bringing all the past Sylvander. By the way, if you send us some super chat money, we'll make sure that we get to your questions here by the end of the program, and do it fast because we're only doing about 20-25 minutes today. But we also did an episode. I can't remember what will we choose if we could choose one upgrade for the Heat the rest of the season from an individual player? Okay, so we're going to get away from the Heat a little bit for now. The Jose Pineda episode should be up on YouTube by tomorrow, and the podcast channels at some point tomorrow as well. And that was great. We had a great time with Jose reminiscing. Brady and I did. Did you guys know this before we get to the episode? Not only is Jose one of only 6 original members of the Heat that's still there, and they're counting Rothstein in that, even though he left and came back. He's one of 6. Okay. I forgot Coach Tony, which Tony's going to kill me if he hears this. But also that Jose has never missed a game.
Are you serious?
2,687. He didn't have the number off the top of his head when we talked today, but he went back and looked. 2,687. He has never missed a broadcast. This is from the Heat's first season. So we're talking about, he's been through pandemics, and he's never. That's why he says this whole maintenance thing to the players, and he's not down with that. Okay, he literally has not missed so it's really a fun episode, and we get through his relationships with players, but also his favorite moments, his most difficult moment to deal with, which I think a lot of people know. But it's a pretty cool episode, so that's going to be up here pretty soon. All right, but let's get to it. Yes, it is the end of the world. The conversation. We're going to talk LeBron. And I think we're going to talk LeBron. Yes, we're going to talk LeBron. And we're going to talk LeBron in this context, okay? Because I've said all year that nobody pays attention to this team. And we were even talking to Jose about that today and why that is, right? Nobody pays attention to this team unless LeBron's involved. That's pretty much the way this franchise has gone for the past, ever since he said, I'm taking my talents to South Beach. Literally, in the eyes of the national media, the Heat are relevant when LeBron is involved. Otherwise, they're not. And we're talking about 12 years of this. He hasn't been here in 8 years. There was more conversation about the Heat today than there has been the whole season when they're the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference because of something that Stephen A. Smith said. Okay, so I'll go to you on this, Greg. Could you recap what Stephen A. said?
Just that he had heard, and it was in the midst of a broadcast. I don't have full context, to be frank. But I think Drew Starr, shout out to that Twitter account. He's been around forever. Posted
He's had
the
some
audio
things first, by the way, over the years. Drew,
yeah. Well, Stephen A. has, yeah. Well, particularly,
but they both have with the Heat. But Drew was
does
one
a good
of
job picking up the leaves, like the tea leaves.
Correct. Yes,
Yeah.
the tea leaves.
Drew
He's
is one
very
of the
good at that.
accounts that I followed as a reporter during the Big 3 era because he kind of knew stuff. But anyway, continue.
Essentially, Stephen A. said that he had heard that he had just gotten a call from somebody that LeBron was in town meeting with Pat and meeting with Spo. And I don't know what to put into that, but I fired off a tweet with a photograph of Riley pouring champagne on LeBron's head, and everybody takes that as that something's happening. I'm just having fun, people. Like, we don't know what's going on there yet. The only thing I will say, Ethan, you and I have talked about this. When he passed through Miami as a Los Angeles Laker, that was a Sunday game, if I remember correctly. I heard directly from people close to him that and close to, the team, that like he was very, very, he was in a more positive way than ever before, talking about that group and just the organization and everything there. So he was very appreciative, and it was vocal. So I don't know how we connect the dots on this. Immediately I got hit with would you trade Jimmy for him? And I don't even want to think about that. But essentially this is all coming from a Stephen A. Smith moment where he said that he heard LeBron was, chatting it up with Riles and Spo.
Okay, but what you and I both heard, and I'm going to elaborate on what I heard because I heard a lot that weekend also, including from some of his people and also from people who were around Spoelstra. But let's distinguish something, because what Stephen A. Smith is basically saying today is tampering, correct?
Well,
yes.
Wasn't it that he was spotted with those guys?
Well, that's what it says, is that he was spotted with them, as if I remember it correctly. I could be corrected, but that's what I believe how Stephen A. Smith framed it. And that is absolutely tampering. So, I mean, like, I don't think that Pat, given his history, would be reckless enough to be spotted with LeBron James. Yeah. He probably wouldn't even meet with him, frankly. But there's a lot of other guys around the organization that maybe could chill with LeBron, and it would.
Well, that's different. No, but that's different. But that's why we need to address this, because I mean, the Heat are already, they already had to give up a second-round pick over the whole Lowry situation. They would not be this stupid. They just that's why when I heard the report, I was like, what? Because that doesn't make any sense to me. And I'll bring Alex in here in a second. But I think, just again, to add to what you heard. There were other tea leaves that weekend. Okay. The one was, some of it was out front. I mean, he hugged pretty much everybody in the organization on the floor afterwards, everybody. Okay. Which I asked him about after the game. And of course he gave that gushing answer about, Jimmy Butler, directly. So all of that was out there in the public. We know his relationship, that he really reveres Bam, and has for a long time. But the other thing that I heard from people close to Spoelstra was that people had communicated with Spoelstra over that 24-hour period, was that Eric was more positive about LeBron than he has been since he left. And like, I was told that by 3 different people who communicated with Eric during that period of time, that they were surprised because, Eric over the years, I mean, he's had great respect for Coach LeBron, but also it was for LeBron, but it also there's frustrations and other things like that. And then you add to that the Pat Riley quote to ESPN about during the 75th anniversary. And I will tell you why this struck me probably more than it would strike absolutely anybody else, is I'm the one that Pat Riley emoted to in his office. And I can still find you the article that I did for Bleacher Report, which was a front page piece about, basically, I went into his office and, to talk about other things. And I even said to Tim Donovan at the time, who of course runs media relations for the Heat, I'm not going to get into LeBron stuff with him, I promise. And then Pat decided to go 20 minutes off. 20 minutes, he went off on LeBron to me, all on the record, which, then I can tell you that I went back to Cleveland that week and LeBron looked at me in the locker room and said, nice article. I'm just telling you, like, for me.
What a coincidence.
Well, just a coincidence. For me, to see these quotes from Pat, where Pat is now saying that LeBron made the right decision. Literally, I should find that article somewhere. Okay. I wish I could send it to Manny. But basically, like, I think the article was called Still Pulling the Strings. And I can tell you that Pat wasn't upset with the article, because when I got done with it, I ran it by, not to, I don't let people vet my articles, but I made sure, I said, all of this was on the record. And I was told, abso-fucking-lutely. Okay. and even I will tell you also this, the one time I got a compliment from Pat on an article I wrote was that, okay, directly. So there was no there was nothing ambiguous at the time, guys, about Pat's feelings. And this was several months after. So, and then we'll pivot to Alex on the possibilities here and everything else. But like, what the hell has changed? Greg, what do we think here?
I think it has to do likely with, and it's going to be some cliche stuff, but time heals wounds. I think that the way that they handled Dwayne and the way that Dwayne's career ended, I think that has equity with LeBron in an interesting way. And I also think that maybe the way Pat handled that situation and then how he's handled superstars in the future, whether it be Jimmy or, just the things with Dwayne, as I mentioned earlier, I think all that kind of stuff just, also when you're struggling the way that the Lakers are, there could be a part of him that just absence makes the heart grow fonder when you're struggling with that nonsense that, has been,
but it's both ways. It's both ways. It's not, I understand it from LeBron's perspective. There's no question. And I sense that too, even when I was in Cleveland before he won the championship. And at times when I've communicated with people close to him, that LeBron had regrets about certain things. Okay. He clearly wanted it to end better than he did. Everybody said he didn't thank the fans. That's not true. He actually did in an uninterrupted video when he came back on Bleacher Report, but I feel like nobody saw it. Okay. He didn't do it the way that everybody wanted him to do it. But Alex, I'll pivot to this here. Like, is this even a conversation we should be having? Like, and in the sense of, do Heat fans even want this?
Oh, I mean, come on. We're talking
no,
about
I'm not
LeBron,
so sure, man.
James.
Team Petty.
I got the package ready right here.
Look, the Team Petty stuff was fun for those first few seasons, and I was absolutely a part of that. And, it was fun as a Heat. That's what you do when you're a fan. You root for guys who are not, you don't root for guys who are not in your team. And everybody was sour because, that he won titles here. He was in the finals every year. It's not like it was this epic collapse like what has happened, in LA where he missed the playoffs the first year. He was in the play-in last season. They're going to be in the play-in again this season. Russ is obviously like that whole experiment is so obviously a failure. And I think he's going through it because the difference is like he had a lot of these types of seasons in Cleveland where it wasn't an epic failure, but it was like he was frustrated and he was doing it in the media, being very subtle and passive aggressive. Not being very subtle, being very passive aggressive. The difference is trades would actually happen at the deadline. I think he didn't get his way. Nothing really happened. They didn't even make, like a move for one of those guys they were rumored for, like a Chris Boucher or any type of small nothing. And I think that never happens when you have LeBron like putting pressure on a team. So now he's resorted to doing this, right? Kind of putting pressure on them in different ways, whether it's what we're talking about with kind of the way that he's, just kissing up to the Heat a little bit. And then what he did over the weekend where he was just openly kissing up to Cleveland and kind of the idea of returning there, referred to himself as a Cav at one point, like in a way, confirmed the idea of him wanting to play with Bronny. And even if that isn't in LA, like to me, it's so obviously him putting pressure. And I know, Ethan, you could speak to LeBron's media tactics more than I can. For sure, but that's just the way that it comes across to me because I feel like LeBron, this is what he does,
He's out of there. Come on,
but he's out of there. But
I'm not sure.
He did this. Like I've been called the LeBron sycophant, but I'll acknowledge this. He did this, as Joe Varden said, and Joe, has covered LeBron as closely as anybody since he left Miami, since 2014-15. He said he's always been accused of being the general manager, and this is the first time it's actually true. He did it. He did this. This roster is his creation, even though it's completely counter to any roster that anybody would put around LeBron James. The Heat would never
same mistake as Harden. I just realized that. Like they were both like all in on the Russ stuff, and then both of them upset at management, kind of when it didn't work out, and when they weren't able to move Russ for a package or another star.
But here's the thing about it is like I understand it from LeBron's perspective. Okay, in this sense, okay, that the Heat have built a roster for him. They built it for Jimmy, but literally you build the same kind of roster around LeBron that you build for Jimmy. Even though LeBron's a better long-range shooter than Jimmy is, you build a roster with shooters, you build a roster around him, you build a roster with additional playmakers so he doesn't have to play make all the time. Basically, Jimmy is it's insulting to call Jimmy LeBron light because he's not light anything, okay? He went toe-to-toe with LeBron in the finals. But he's a slightly lesser version. Everything LeBron does well, Jimmy does well, but not quite as well. I mean, that's basically the way, right? I mean,
yeah. I mean, I think the defensive end could be argued these days, but
I think
right.
the defensive end, Jimmy, is actually superior to LeBron at this stage. Because I feel like for years, Greg, it was, well, LeBron can defend if he wants to. And now I don't necessarily think that's true. Jimmy is a terror on the defensive end still. So yes, defensively. But offensively, Eric has given Jimmy many of the same responsibilities he gave LeBron. I do think one criticism of Jimmy is that LeBron would make the right play at the end of games, and Jimmy sometimes doesn't do that. And LeBron would get criticized for making the right play at end of games. And we've discussed how many times that happened, whether it's in Utah with Haslam or whatever. So again, I understand from LeBron's perspective, he's looking at the Heat. He's saying structure. Okay. I kind of missed that. An elite defensive big who's unselfish in every way. Perfect fit with LeBron. I mean, LeBron loved Chris Anderson, okay? And just because Chris Anderson was a vertical spacer and could finish, Bam is a million times Chris Anderson, okay? So that's perfect. And then Kyle Lowry is the perfect point guard to play with LeBron. Like, he's ideal, okay?
Unless we're trading Kyle Lowry for LeBron.
Possibly, but on and off the ball, okay, good shooter. I don't think anybody's to be first. And then you're talking about you've got PJ Tucker. You think LeBron wouldn't want to play with PJ Tucker? He's got great respect for PJ. He always has. And then guys like Caleb Martin, young, sort of cheap, hungry, wing defender. Like,
gotta keep Duncan now.
And Duncan, another spacer.
And
Tyler's, it's a perfect roster for him.
It is, but what you're insinuating is that we're trading Jimmy for LeBron, and that is tough. Like the whole reason that the Heat are back is because Jimmy chose to come here. There is something that is very bad. I'm telling y'all, there is something bad.
You can't do
karmically.
We've seen this before. The Boston Celtics. Don't do it.
Don't do it. I'm telling you. I'm pleading with you, Heat fans, Heat representatives, do not trade Jimmy Butler for LeBron James because the karmic action will not be good.
But let me ask this. Speaking of karma, okay, because clearly Pat's okay. So we've looked at it from LeBron's perspective. We can 100% understand why LeBron would want to do this, right? He's set up his Hollywood deals already. He's won the championship for Cleveland. Miami is like LA. He told people that Miami is like LA in a lot of ways. Okay. I think there's a lot, and I think there's connections in this community that he really didn't make the first time around. That always kind of surprised me because, and honestly, it disappointed me. And I would tell people around him this. He never really connected with the community down here in a real way. Like, for somebody who's as
I wouldn't want to connect with Coconut Grove people either.
Well, no, but it wasn't Coconut Grove. I went to literally one event. I went to one event. Okay.
I didn't mean to alienate part of our audience.
Hey, come to North Miami. It's all good.
I went to one event, which was like a Boys and Girls Club event where he gave away some computers in sort of the Overtown area. Okay. I thought he was going to do 1 million of those. This was like at the beginning, because we know how giving he is with the community, right? And what he's done in Akron, nobody can take that away, right? He really didn't do anything in Miami. I mean, he rode the bikes with Dwayne. Like, that was, I mean, he didn't, remember that? Like, he didn't really do
much. They do that like every other week in South Beach now.
Yeah, but he didn't do any of the charity stuff down here that he's done in other places. Like, I don't feel like, and that's why I think it was easier for him to leave. He didn't connect here. Like, Zoe came from Charlotte and Zoe connected immediately. And then Dwayne kind of was under Zoe's wing. And of course, UD is this. He's not just from here. He is this place, right? So those three guys have always been at the core of that stuff down here. Bron didn't do any of that. And so I wonder, there
even
was
Chris
some
too.
What's that?
Even Chris too. Chris Bosh.
Oh, Chris did a lot also. I mean, yeah, there were others who came to this community and they did that stuff. He really didn't. I wonder if that he didn't. Well, stop it, man. He did thank Miami fans. This is not. He did. He just didn't do it the way that you wanted to. Okay, so Jermaine makes the point I want to make. You all forgetting how he left the franchise in shambles. Which, if you read the article, I'll try to post it on that Manny put up here. I'll try to post it on my Twitter handle tonight. Why would Pat? Let's just start here. Why would Pat want to do this? I feel like Pat's proven his point, right? Like, LeBron left and it didn't destroy the franchise. They got back to the finals and they're in better position than LeBron's franchise is right now. Like, why would you even throw LeBron a life preserver at this point? Like, if you're Pat, what do you guys think of that?
Because of the happy ending. You get to put 6 in the rafters. It all works out. You don't trade Jimmy because you trade Kyle, Tyler Hero, and Yurtsevin or something like that and get to the number just close enough. And it's just like, I don't know. If you're telling me that you have Bam, Jimmy, and LeBron, I trust them to figure that out. I trust Spoelstra to figure that out. And I think that LeBron's going to start being more and more of a big man as he ages. And I just feel like they can figure that out in cool ways. So I don't know. I think it could work. And Pat, I don't know. He's sentimental at his core.
No, he is.
So there's just a part of it too that like you want to close that chapter and you want it to be a happy story. I don't know. I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff.
But it's not the same. I get it with Dwayne. Like you had to fix that. Okay. Like you had to fix it. And with Chris, although I will always argue, and I think Chris knows it now, the Heat did nothing wrong with Chris. Okay. But you had to repair that. I mean, I thought it was really nice this weekend to see Ray Allen and Eric Spoelstra interacting because I know the backstory from 2014. Ray didn't talk to Eric for most of that season. Like he was furious, okay, at him, as were other players. So to see him palling around with Spoelstra is cool. Like they have brought everybody except like the Andersons from this 06 championship. Like everybody comes back, okay? Everybody's cool with them now, right? Shaq. The things that Shaq said and did when he was leaving, like people were on LeBron. Shaq was much more of a pain in the ass his last year than LeBron was. Okay,
Shaq
Shaq
had to pry him off of Pat.
I'll never forget what he said about Chris Quinn.
Chris Quinn and Ricky Davis, although the Ricky Davis part, I don't really blame it. But Quinny may be the future head coach of this organization, and look what he said about him. I mean, he wrote a book. I remember Pat doing a Thanksgiving event, and Shaq's book had just come out where he trashed Pat throughout the book, and Pat was like, like laughing about it. He didn't really want to talk about it. Like, so, okay, they've patched things with Shaq. They patched things with Ray. They patched things. I will tell you, Shane was not happy as last year. They patched things with Shane. Rio was telling me in the locker room his last season, when are these MFers going to tell me what's going on with me? Okay, now Rio like loves the Heat organization. They've patched it with, and Dwayne is the biggest, right? And Chris. But I guess I look at LeBron differently because LeBron, as I said, was kind of a mercenary, like in a sense, right?
So was Shaq, though, wasn't he?
Yes. No, that's true. That's true.
Almost identical amount of time spent on the Heat also.
Was it? Well, yeah, weird. Shaq was 04 to
4.5, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't even count Shaq's last season because he really didn't play.
I think of Shaq as he had 2 seasons in Miami. The first 2. That's the rest of it we're forgetting.
Yeah. That's it. Exactly. I guess, look, Pat is
could Jimmy stomach Kyle going? Like, let's just go transactional for 5 seconds. Like, can they even really make this? Yeah, he would. He'd be okay with that, Ethan?
Would Jimmy be okay with it?
Yeah, with Kyle Lowry, Tyler Hero.
I thought you said if I would be okay with it.
Yeah, I noticed your implication earlier, Leif, when you mentioned Jimmy, Bam, and LeBron and left out Kyle. That was LeBron-like of you to leave out, like when he left out Dion when he went back to Cleveland in that letter.
Hey, I'm just trying to make the money work. Sorry.
No, but you know what? To me, I was thinking about that, and this actually sounds more interesting of a prospect, like more realistic, not interesting as like a free agent type of thing. And the thing is, they just don't have. They're not going to have the cap space anytime soon. So like, I just don't picture them trading one of these guys, especially Jimmy and Kyle, who are like best friends. You know what I'm saying? Like they really signed up for this vision. I don't think like not only for the karmic stuff, but also it just feels like you're doing all these guys dirty, you know, like it just feels wrong. And
well, you can't trade Jimmy. I mean, you trade. They worked really hard to repair their image with that around the league. In fact,
and they were just in the finals. It's not like they've been some team trying to become relevant again, you know.
But it's beyond that, Alex. They basically gave guys money for life just to feel better about their image around the league. They paid Dion Waiters, James Johnson, and Hassan to a degree, but particularly Dion and JJ to prove that they take care of guys. That was the major reason that they did that, in my view. Okay, they can tell me otherwise, but if you remember what was going on at that point, you're talking about Dwayne had just left, your franchise player left. He felt like they didn't, as Dwayne texted me, they didn't even fight, okay? They let him walk out the door for essentially less money in Chicago, if you take the taxes into consideration, and they needed to repair their image. So they basically made Tyler Johnson, Dion Waiters, and James Johnson rich, okay? Essentially, you go through that to repair the way that people view you, the Heat lifer thing, all the rest of this, culture. Chris Bosh, you repair that. Shaq, you repair that. Dwayne, you repair that. Hey, Jimmy, thanks for saving the franchise.
Yeah,
We're going to send you to a rebuilding situation in Los Angeles. I don't.
For an older player.
Yeah, I don't. It's not going to happen. They can't do it.
For the vet minimum.
You want to take him for the vet minimum?
We're Andy Ellisberg, man. Like, it might not happen in a conventional, traditional way, like a trade or free agency.
Andy's the best. I don't think
maybe he'll get bought out.
So. I mean, the NBA might go into a lockout like right away.
You know what they should do? LeBron should try to come back, and there should be a meeting, and Andy and Pat should watch soccer. I think that's what should happen.
Oh wow, the ultimate team petty move. I don't know, man.
That's what they should. I'm a LeBron guy too, but he didn't handle that situation. He
shouldn't have. Well. He shouldn't have gone back to 6, man. That was too much.
I'm gonna start getting resentful if we start talking about that too much. That visit was not good.
No, he knew he was gone. I told that. So I was waiting because my daughter hadn't been born yet, but we were waiting for the pictures, right? So I was at the doctor's office, and at that point, I thought LeBron was coming back. This was the first week of July, and because basically the higher ups in the Heat organization all thought he was coming back. Like they were telling me, we're fine. I'm like, really? Yeah, we're fine. He's coming back. I'm like, okay. Mike Miller texted me. I was waiting, and he goes, you moving to Cleveland? I'm like, what? He's like, you don't know? This was July 6th. This was July 6th. No, Mike, because Mike was waiting on his own situation to figure out, because Mike had been in Memphis. Mike was going to go wherever LeBron went. Okay,
that's ominous, though.
It wasn't ominous. He knew it was July.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and then he prophesied you moving to Cleveland.
I think yeah, that was ominous. That was yeah. So I mean, the fact that the Heat organization was blindsided, I think there was a lot of arrogance there, honestly, that, why would he leave us? Like, that was kind of the attitude. Like, why would he leave this situation?
It's also why they got mad at Dwayne.
Yes.
Seems like they were kept in the dark by everybody involved.
Right. But here's the other thing, Alex. Here's the thing. When Miller also texted me, he texted me back later that day, and he said, and here's the other thing. He says, Danny Granger and Josh McRoberts, they really thought that was going to keep LeBron. And that was
speaking for all of Heat Twitter.
Right.
I probably defended those moves back then.
Oh, God. Oh, the Granger move, man. I mean, McRoberts, literally, the guy hit LeBron in the face. Like,
it was really petty of them. Those
like right guys. Before, too. That same playoff run. That was like 1 or 2 months had passed since that incident. Not like a year or two, even. And then, I mean, look, Granger gave us that Christmas game versus the Cavs when LeBron first came back to Miami.
Oh, my God.
So he paid off his contract. McRoberts was just, oh, my God.
But they couldn't stand Danny
and no
Granger.
jump shots taken.
Alex, they couldn't stand Danny Granger. They played against they didn't like Lance Stevenson, but they didn't like Danny Granger either. And yes, the Napier thing too. I will say this: they were going to take Capella. That was the guy that year. So if they hadn't taken Napier, they would have taken Capella. But they like Napier a little bit too. Don't let them fool you. But it was mostly LeBron. it was mostly LeBron. And yes, Pau Gasol likely was coming. I don't know about Kyle
Lowry.
No.
They were in on Kyle, but I don't think they were going to get Kyle. I think Kyle was always going back to Toronto.
Don't you think it was Pau and Dang?
Yes. Yeah, well, most likely. I don't think Lou was set until, and then of course Pat with the most petty press release of all time.
That was great. The most important signing in NBA or in Miami.
We all like Luol Deng's game, but that was.
I like Lou personally, but do you think Luol Deng was the most important signing in Los Angeles Lakers history? Because they're literally still paying that contract. Literally, this is the last year.
The Heat get people paid.
They do get people paid. As long as it's not by them, it's fine. But yeah, Lou.
Deng, like, you really think he would have gotten that 4 years, 72 mil at that time? God. That was a lot. Even with,
that was the Mozgov year too.
Thanks, Bo.
That was the yeah, because he moved.
They could not wait for free agency to start to max out Mozgov and Deng. Like, they could not wait.
All right, we've already gone too long. I do want to mention one other spot.
That's why LeBron wants to come back. That's the same organization we're talking about.
Our friends at Water Cleanup of Florida. This is where you want to go if you've got any kind of water damage, mold, anything along those lines. They're based in Boca Raton, but they'll service the entire area. Check out watercleanupoflorida.com. They do all this stuff that's listed there. They can rebuild, they can remodel. Look at all the 5-star reviews. That's pretty cool, right? Here's the saying that we give for this, okay? You got 24-hour service, reach out to Michael and his team. Just click on the website. It's going too fast for me because my eyes are not good enough to read the phone number right now. 561-408. I said 7835. Check out the website, watercleanupflorida.com. Greg, if you've got the schmutz,
they got the guts.
I think that's a good place to close, since guts was a word that was used a lot before LeBron left. All right, no
check out this
smiling
comment
face
from Mudasic, the second to last one.
No. Wait, bring it back up.
Good
Bring it back
call.
up.
It is a good
Bring it back
comment. It's worth it.
Bring it back up.
Don't you guys say the Heat always circle back? That's your thing, right?
They do.
They do.
They always. He has good comments too. They do always circle back. I promise you, though, on this show there are no smiling faces with hidden agendas. Have a good night, everybody.